Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon. And as you know, on a Sunday, we do our Soul Sunday broadcast, and that one is always just a little bit lower key than the ones that we normally do on Fridays. So for those of you who might be new to the broadcast, welcome. It's always great to have new people tune in, and I know that some of you may tune in on the replay and see it then. I just want to let you know that feel free to write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com if there's a subject that you would particularly like me to talk about, or if you have anything that is bothering you and you think I might be able to give you some help with. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit more about balancing out our lives. I've just spent a week with my brother who came in from overseas. And what I really was aware of is how I needed to balance my life to accommodate, the difference in our personalities and our needs and wants and everything. And it was really quite an interesting experiment to see whether I could do it and maintain it. And so I thought it might be just a topic that we all need to have another look at, and how to just adjust. I know Nana is here, and Nana, I know you've just spent a week with Ali and her boyfriend as well. So I'm sure that that balancing act was busy in your life as well. And I know, Jody, you've got a lot of balancing going on with what's happening with the in-laws. And so, hopefully this will help everybody a little bit. It was said that moderate in order to taste the joys of life in abundance. I really have to say that one of the things that I found over this week was it was very difficult when I'm a pre-diabetic. It was difficult to live with somebody who actually took in quite a bit of sugar, to put it mildly, and who every night, would put out chocolate and, put it in rows and expect me to take some. It was a really interesting balancing act for me in terms of my addiction to sugar and my need to look after my body. It was very interesting to me. And on the whole, I did fairly well, although, I had way more chocolate than I would normally have, obviously. This I normally wouldn't have had any, but I definitely did have quite a bit. It is said that balance is the ultimate goal. And I don't know if any of you have found that in your lives, that when you can do everything in moderation, you have a much better chance of being under control and happy and all those things. I found, for example, that my brother, during the time that he was with me, he liked to eat one good meal a day, and the good being as good as possible, and then would have bread and cheese, for example. He liked to eat a really good lunch, and then would have bread and cheese in the evening with a cigar and chocolate. And, and it was amazing over the course of the week how I sort of got into that routine to be with him. Now, you can imagine, as somebody who gave up smoking 7 years ago, that to sit with somebody every night who smoked a couple of cigars every night was also a bit of a challenge. And so that also was known, and it wasn't in the house. We actually went out on the back deck. Hi, Nyasha. And so we actually, it was quite a challenge, but I really did quite well. Although there were a couple of times I could have quite happily had one of those cigarillo type things with him. Art Garfunkel, for those of you who remember Simon and Garfunkel, Art Garfunkel said, "I have a feeling that in a balanced life, one should die penniless. The trick is dismantling." Hi, Erin, good to see you. And I am inclined to agree with him. And one of the things I can always remember a friend of mine who's a lawyer saying to all his clients whenever they came in to write a will was have fun, spend it all, let the children make their own. And I thought that was a really interesting thing, and to say to people who'd come in to write a will, have fun, spend it all, and let the children work out their own plan. And I thought that was incredibly good advice. And yet so many of us, live to leave our goods and income or whatever to other people, when in fact, you worked hard for it. You have the right to enjoy it. It's not necessary to hand it on to somebody else. And one of the things that I heard my brother say while he was here was that that's what he is doing at the moment. He's, organized his money in such a way that he's now enjoying it before he dies. And I thought that was interesting. So the trick is how to dismantle it, how to get rid of it if you've got any. It helps if you've got some to start with, right? So the first thing is to work out, do you have any? And if you have, how are you going to spend it and still be safe? Okay, for those of you watching on the replay, Erin has just let me know that her father passed this morning. And Erin, I thank you for letting me know, and I am so sorry for you, but happy that your daddy is now with your mom. Wow, that was way faster than I expected, that's for sure. And I'm not sure about whether you expected that to happen as quickly as it has done. I don't know, when you told me that he was, about to go into hospice, I presumed that he had time left. So there are no words, Erin, that we can give you that make this any better. I just feel very fortunate that I got to meet your daddy and to get a hug from him and get to know what an incredible human being he was. And Erin, I wondered whether I could share with the viewers his relationship to you, because that is important, I think, for people to understand. And now, Erin, you get to be the adult. When I say you get to be the adult, but one of the things that I found once both my parents had passed, I realized it was my time. Yeah, for those of you who might not know, Erin's daddy was her stepfather. And he never took on that role in anything but 100% plus. And I always was absolutely taken away and blown away by the dedication and the love that he had for Erin. And it was so evident in everything I saw him do. I personally witnessed. And I thought, gosh, what an incredible human being that he took on that task of looking after you as best he could for as long as he could. And then when he realized, it was time for you to look after yourself, that he allowed you to do that. And thank goodness he did, Erin. I keep thinking about that. Thank goodness he trusted that you would be okay, because imagine how difficult your life would be right now if you hadn't been given that year or so of, living on your own and learning to cope in a different way without him. And I'm also so pleased that he got to do his camping trip the way he wanted to. I think that was very important in those last couple of years, that he got to do some things that he really wanted to do. So our thoughts and prayers are with you, Erin, and I'm going to try and continue as best I can. If everybody will just bear with me. All right. It is said that fortunate indeed is the man who takes exactly the right measure of himself and holds a balance between what he can acquire and what he can use. For anybody that has to relook at their life for any reason, and in my case, downsize, it's a really interesting balance between what do I own and how much do I actually need. That, I think, if anybody's ever done it, and I know Nana has, and I got a feeling that Jody did as well, whenever you've done that task, you've realized that you hold on to far more things than you actually need. And that is fine if you have room for it. But if you learn to downsize, then you find out you don't need quite as much. And the trick is to actually learn to live with just what you need, not what you could have. Because that is what it's all about. Beware of wonder. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day some. Yeah, Erin's just saying that she was sorry not to have written earlier. He was apparently in that last week went on a very fast downhill path. That is so sad, and I am so sorry I wasn't there for you during those 2 weeks, Erin, because I would have done my best to be there to support you. And I really would ask you, Erin, to let us know, because there are a number of viewers who care greatly about you, and that is let us know how we can best support you in the coming weeks and months. And Jody, if you could just make a note for me so that I remember to put up a note and also keep track of this. Thomas Merton said that happiness is not a matter of intensity, but of balance and order and rhythm and harmony. And, the same as Erin's life has now been thrown completely out of balance. And the weight has shifted, if you like. The things that hold you in balance are the people and the things that you hold dear. And so if you lose part of that, your life goes out of balance for a while until you learn to rebalance it. And so, Erin, I really encourage you to do. I would say the most important thing is to make it through the next couple of weeks. The next couple of weeks will be very difficult, but you have really been preparing yourself so well for this that I have faith that you will be coping with this better than maybe if this had been a complete and utter shock. And so, as I've said to many people, when you have a huge loss like this, the loss of a close parent or a loved one, they say don't make any major decisions for a year, because it really does throw your mind out of balance for a while. And what everybody else thinks is a good idea is not necessarily the right idea for you. And that's why they recommend that you don't make any major decisions other than the ones you obviously have to make in terms of the passing. And so just keep that in mind, honey. Euripides said that the best and safest thing is to keep a balance in your life. Acknowledge the great powers around us and in us. If you can do that and live that way, you are indeed a really wise man. Shakespeare said that they are sick that surfeit with too much, as they starve with nothing. Yeah, I think what Shakespeare meant was sometimes when we have too much in our lives, we actually don't benefit from it. We actually, have almost a greed sickness. We want more and more and more. I can remember, and perhaps some of you can as well, I can remember when sharing an apartment with somebody was perfectly okay with me until I earned more money. And once I earned more money, then I wanted to live on my own. And then I wanted, a bigger place or whatever. And so it went on. Yeah, I agree. Nyasha had said that maybe that Erin's daddy wasn't happy going into hospice, and he wanted to stay at home. Hospice, as Nana said, is a need, not necessarily a want. They might not have been able to continue to care for him well enough, Nyasha, and that's why he needed to get better care. Stephen Covey wrote that wisdom is your perspective on life, your sense of balance, your understanding of how various parts and principles apply and relate to each other. Oh, that's good to hear, Erin. Erin saying, no, he loved the place. He was staying at and loved the nurses, and they were wonderful. He was happy. He was just very sick. Yeah. Erin, absolutely. And so, bye-bye, Nana. Yeah. So, something, I think that's a wonderful thing to hear, Erin. Well, for me, anyway. And I don't know about anybody else, but it's wonderful to hear that he did love hospice and the nurses there. I think that gives us all hope. And I thank you for that news, Erin, because that's always been, a big issue for me, which was, what is hospice really like? And for those of you who have experience of it, I think it's great that we share some of that so that people won't be as concerned. And Nyasha, I have no doubt in my mind, that your comment was made with a great deal of care and love coming with it. Yeah. They say that a well-developed sense of humor is a pole that adds balance to the steps as you walk the tightrope of life. I'm thinking about, Erin's tightrope of life at the moment, where the pole that, if you can imagine that she's walking a tightrope of life and suddenly she's out of balance because of what's happened to her father. I like to believe that Erin will stay in balance. Erin probably has more experience of loss than most of us. And I think in each of us, when we experience loss, we learn to deal with loss better. I've always said that I think it's really important for children to have pets, be they fish or gerbils or whatever, because they will experience passing of fish or animals or whatever. And it's an important part of growing up, is to learn to deal with loss. And so for those of us who have dealt with more loss than others, I think it's not that it's any less, it's just we learn how to deal with it in a different way. Yeah, Jody, I'm glad that you've said that as well. It was comforting to hear that he liked where he was staying. Yeah, I you know, something that gave me great, I know that sounds strange, but it gave me great joy to hear that he actually did like that, and that they were looking after him in a way that he appreciated. That is what it's meant to be. You know, it is meant to be to make you comfortable in those last few weeks. And I, you know, for some reason, I thought we were months away from this. I didn't realize we were weeks away. And that's, you know, that's why it was such a shock to me. Whew. So, Erin, do let us know what we can do, if anything. And, you know, it's really important, if you can, Erin, that you keep us informed as to how you're doing. And if you need to vent, you know, you've got safe people you can do that with. And that to me is probably very important in the next few weeks. You probably are going to feel, you know, denial at some levels. You're going to feel anger at some levels. You're going to feel great sadness, obviously, as I do. You know, if I can feel great sadness, and I'm sure that, you know, yours is, you know, 100 times worse. So, and you know that you're going to feel them, you know, in cycles, and that's the way that it is. And slowly your mind will, if you like, cope with it all. I think what I always try to say to people is these cycles are about your mind trying to file everything away into the right places. You know, that things that were filed in certain places now need to be refiled in different places. And that's why all the emotions come backwards and forwards at you the way that they do. Matisse, Henri Matisse, the artist, said, "What I dream of is an art of balance." Yeah. Erin's saying about the nurses at the hospice. And she's saying the nurses that do that hospice, most of them are special angels. Isn't that the truth? I do not understand how anyone knows that job. For the most part, they are so kind and caring. But how do you watch people die? Yeah. Yes, and how do you not get close to people who are dying, right? And therefore feel that loss. And so they must have incredible balance, Erin. If you think about it, they must have the ability to get close to some incredible human being like your daddy, and then just really be in the moment. And one of the things we all are striving for is to not live in the future or the past, but live in the moment. And I think to be a hospice nurse, you need to be able to live in the moment and to deal with what's going on in the moment. Yes, you have a wonderful way with words, Beth. Beth is saying, because the way they do it is because they don't just watch them die, they help them live comfortably until the end. I think that's beautiful, Beth. And Erin's saying, I think that the nurse who was taking care of my dad, well, one of them, the lady that owned the place, was getting very close to my dad because she was getting close to me even. Yeah, I'm sure, Erin, you're very easy to get close to as well. And your daddy definitely was very easy. I am sure he kept his sense of humor, and that was very important. And Yesha's saying, I know this is off topic, but I was listening to a Friday broadcast about patience, and a question came to mind. Are all the struggles individuals face in life? I've got to wait for her to finish that sentence. Yeah, Erin is saying that apparently in his dying days, her daddy told the nurse all about Erin. He was very proud of you, Erin. No doubt. Yeah, and Beth is saying, Beth had a loss recently as well of her beloved Peanut, little puppy. And she is saying, that it was hard, to be with him till the end. But she felt good for being able to do that, and to give him comfort. So I think we each do the best we can, but all right, let me just see here. This is Nyasha going back, and the question came to my mind, are all the struggles individuals face in life a depiction of how the world is formed? For example, hills and valleys, that means there are good days and bad days. That's very clever, Nyasha, well done. And that's the way that I view things now, although they're difficult. Yes, you don't get to see the view unless you go up. And to go up is a struggle, Nyasha, if you think about it that way. It's wonderful to be able to, and it's easier to go down. But when you're down in the valley, you miss a lot of the view. And so that I think is a very nice way to look at it, if you can see life that way. And the same way, Nyasha, as the world brings you 4 seasons, not so much where you live. Where you live, you don't get 4 seasons as clearly as we do where I live. We get a very definite summer and a very definite fall and a very definite winter and a very definite spring. And, you're sitting very much closer to the tropics and the equator, and therefore your seasons are not as defined. But what I'd like you to think about is life goes in seasons as well. And for those of you who might have watched Game of Thrones, the famous line, winter is coming, is something to think about all the time. How prepared are you for the winter of your life? Yeah, Erin is saying, oh, absolutely, his sense of humor, hung on for the last couple of days. When you can no longer speak, he was still making them laugh. I believe you, Erin. I believe that that would have been the last thing he let go of, was his sense of humor. And well, no, his love for you. It's so difficult to talk about, isn't it? It was said that in all aspects of our life, balance is key. Doing one thing too much can cause an upset. Like the old saying goes, everything in moderation, that is the secret. Yeah, Niesh is saying, yeah, I was really listening to what I had said in that broadcast and trying to make sense of it. And the sense that she is trying to make of the struggles of the world, right? And maybe they are intertwined. Yes. I think I was saying this week, Nyasha, although some people can look at the incredible amount of money that was spent making it possible to go to the moon. An awful lot of people said, why did we waste that money? Why didn't we spend it on world poverty or whatever? And yet there were other people that realized that without um, that push to go to the moon, we would not have developed things, so many different products that are now part of our everyday existence. And the reason they came about was because of the development that they did trying to get to the moon. We wouldn't have the bedding that we have today. That the Tempur-Pedic type sleep system was built because they needed something special for the astronauts to be able to sleep while they were on those missions. There were so many things that were developed specially for that particular mission. And, we get to benefit from them today. Something, Nyasha? Erin probably understands more about depression and bottling things up than most people. You understand she has lived a life of having to stay very real because she's lived a life of great pain and disability. But it never really, affects her mind too much. Yeah, Erin, and listen to it. Can you imagine that Erin can even laugh today? Erin, that makes me so proud of you, really. And Erin's saying, no, don't worry, I'm good at blowing, blowing out my pain or my tears or any of that. It comes out even when I don't want it to. And that's called being real, Erin, being in the moment, all right? It's okay to be angry and it's okay to be sad. And it's okay to feel. That is so important. Beth is saying, I am scared of the latter part of my life. Will my multiple sclerosis rob me of my memories? I have noticed a decline in my memory in the last month. It's part of my disease. I struggle every day now. I try to hide it, but sometimes I can't. Something, Beth, I agree with you. All right. I am so aware of things changing in my reality as well. And, it is scary, isn't it? Aaron said, yes, I know. I called and talked to him last night because they can tell. And he was struggling or waiting for something. I knew it was me. And he had not focused on anyone in a day or so. Yes. But, he needed to talk to you first. Erin, I tell a story about my aunt when she was very close to passing. And one of the things that nobody could understand was she kept pointing towards a closet in her room. And nobody could, and she obviously was very, very agitated and kept pointing to the closet. And she couldn't talk, but she kept pointing. And she obviously was very agitated. And Erin, you might have heard me tell the story, but what happened was they ended up phoning me because they believed that I might understand what was going on for her. And I said, is her purse in that closet? And they said, what? And I said, is her purse in that closet? My aunt would not go from one room to the other without her purse. I can assure you she is not going to pass without having her purse next to her. I think she wants to pass, but she needs her purse. And they went, wow. And they went and got it and they put it beside her and made sure that she could feel it. She had it close to her. And she passed within 24 hours. So, yes, Erin, he needed to hear your voice. Yep. It's so difficult, isn't it? Beth, Beth, it is very challenging, isn't it? When you know what you want to say, but the words don't come. I want to tell you, I cannot tell you how many times, for example, with my brother this week, I had to say the words, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" Or how many times I realized I couldn't keep up with his speed of thought or whatever. So, really, we can only do what we can do, Beth. The main thing is, I know you well enough to know that you will continue to do your best. The only thing that I would be concerned of would be your ability to drive. All right, that would be very important for you. All right, Britt, I need you to just understand we have just heard that Erin's daddy passed today. And so that's the space we're all in, which is very sad. So I just need to give you a heads up on that one so that we're not too chatty right now. Yeah, I know that I was sure that you would be so sorry as well, because you've known Erin a long time as well. So, Beth, one of the things that I think would be really important to you, because you are, okay, Kimmy, we're just dealing with the very sad news that Erin's daddy passed this morning. And that was, for me anyway, quite unexpected. I didn't realize that that was going to happen quite so quickly. So it was a little bit of a shock. I'm sure bigger shock to Erin, but really quite a shock to hear that today. So, Beth, I would encourage you to talk a great deal with people who have been on this journey before you. I mean, both with your specialist doctors that you may have, and any support groups that you can get online, and find out what that progression is like for you, so that you can be aware of what stage that progression is at. Do you know what I mean? So that you go, okay, I'm now at this stage, and that's okay. And now I'm at this stage, and now I need to be doubly careful of, doing certain tasks. Okay? Yeah, Beth. Oh, honey, I so relate to what you're saying. Beth, in all honesty, is saying, I am pissed inside because I just came out of my shell, and now my MS is flaring up and might rob me of who I am. I just want to break from it all, I worked so hard. Yes, Beth, life is what it is. I think if you can, Beth, work on what you did do, what you have been able to do. Be so grateful that you were able to break out of that shell before this next phase of your life, that you knew what it was like, that you felt that wonder. All right? And, be grateful, however fleeting that moment. You can probably imagine that, as I sit here now at 72, I'm going, wow, life is very fleeting at times. And Kimmy is saying, I'm very upset too. I found out I have trachycardia and I am scared. All right, now, for those of you who don't know what that is, that, and Kimmy, just correct me where I'm wrong on this, but that's an irregular heartbeat, right? And I believe, Kimmy, if I am correct in that, that can be helped with a pacemaker. So, right. So, again, be grateful that you live in this day and age where pacemakers are put in all the time, and that it's not some rare operation that they never do. It's something that's a bit like tonsillitis these days, all right? Right. Beth is saying most embarrassing moment for her was when she forgot to do payroll. All right, so Beth, my question is, what systems will you now put in place? I know you well enough. You're not an excuse sort of person, and you don't like excuses. So I am pretty sure that you will be putting systems into place to make sure that never happens to you again. All right? And the Brit is saying, Cockney Rebel, the Brit, is saying that his cousin has got tachycardia, and she's pretty poorly with it. Okay, so sad to hear that as well. All right. Kimmy's saying she doesn't understand because she also has AFib, and she doesn't understand the difference between them. Is there anybody here that really does understand the difference between them? If so, perhaps we can help a bit here. Wow, isn't that interesting? Niash is saying to Beth, MS is not who you are. I read an article once which states it is better to have an illness rather than for it to have us. It went on to explain it's more treatable when we own our illness. That is awesome. I love that. All right, we want to know what is the difference between tachycardia and AFib. AFib is just an occasional, I think AFib is that it occasionally goes out of rhythm. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Jodie's on it as we talk. Yeah. You know something, Beth? If you don't have a time management program on your phone right now, get one. Something where you can program these things in. Yes. Okay. So they told you, Kimmy, that AFib is when your heart has spasms. All right. And again, I believe that they can regulate that to some degree. All right. And tachycardia then is different. We'll try and find out what the difference are, Kimmy. And I'm amazed now. Angina is a whole different thing. My mom had angina. That's another thing altogether. Ah, okay. So AFib is another type of tachycardia. However, the arrhythmia that is caused in AFib is much more chaotic. Okay. So the AFib arrhythmia is more chaotic. That's interesting. Yes, it because it's like a heart attack, Brett. Where you've got an actual blockage. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. It's amazing. Kimmy, I want you to just concentrate for a moment, if I may. Just let me know when I've got your attention. Because I really, okay, sweetie, I really ask you to take a deep breath. You know, when you can, remember how lucky you are that you have a treatable problem, right? And when I say treatable, you know, I have a feeling that quite a bit of what's going on for you is actually treatable in this day and age. And I know that it's scary, and I think you would be anything less than human if you weren't scared. I'm sure if I got that diagnosis, I would be pretty darn scared too. I don't mind telling you, I was pretty darn scared when I didn't hear back from you when I sent you emails to find out how you did after the operation. I was pretty scared, and there was no way I could get that information. So I want to really thank you for letting me know that you are alive and that you're okay, because, you know, there was a moment there where I wasn't too sure about that. But if you can, just stay in the moment and remember what you have is treatable to a large extent. And that is a good thing. You know, it was the same as I am certain that Jody was terrified when she got the all clear on cancer and then found she had lymphedema instead. You know, that must have been so terrifying. It's like, and not only that she had it a little bit, but it was literally creeping up her body and got all the way up to her stomach before she got control of it. I want to tell you that must have been terrifying. But, you know, I think, Kimmy, you know, with support from your friends here and from those people that care about you, you know, you will learn a new way of coping with your life. Is there any way, Kim, that they have suggested you look after yourself at the moment, just so that we can help you too? Because, you know, it's the same as anybody. When we can see how to help somebody, however small that may be, it makes it easier for everybody. All right. Because I think what happens is when you care about people, one of the difficult things is I don't know what to do. So you're going to a doctor 175 miles away. Wow. On the 23rd. Jody, can we make a note of that, please? And by the way, for those of you who know that Lizzie was due for another scan a couple of days ago, I have written to her and have not heard back yet. Just so that for those of you who remember that Lizzie was due to go for a scan. So, Kimmy, this is obviously a specialist of some sort that you're going to. All right. How are you going to get there, Kim? And I think, you know, I would also say, Kim, that, you know, to spend some time finding out a bit more about both of those illnesses, probably, you know, as long as you can do it without putting yourself into panic. If you are somebody that you can actually do the research and find it. They put a heart monitor on you. Yes, I've had that a couple of times, so I know what that's like. Okay, you have to drive yourself. All right. Are you scared about doing that? Yeah. Has anybody else had that heart monitor thing done? I think it's a wonderful, one of those things I'm very grateful that they've invented, because it definitely had. All right, so you're kind of scared because of the traffic. All right, again, one thing I would ask Kim is, if you are part of any church or something, I would ask the church if they have anybody that could drive you. You know, anybody that could give you a day of their life to help drive you there and get you back again. Or, you know, maybe a family friend or a family member. I know your family is not the most supportive, but if you really are concerned about that, you've got enough stress going on, I would try and see if I could find somebody that would be kind enough to drive me to that appointment. Also, make sure you find out how much time that will take, because it may be necessary to stay. You know, if the test takes 8 hours or something, that means driving there and maybe staying there, right? And then coming back. Yeah. You know, I've had it done a number of times. So the most important thing is to be grateful, right? You know, to be grateful for the fact that they can put a monitor on you and discover this. Imagine if you didn't know. All right, that would be the greater problem, not to know. And so, to me, we must really give thanks for the fact that we have this ability. And the other thing is, Kim, I'm pretty sure that you don't have a full medical plan. And why do I think that? I think from talking to you over the years. But to me, it sounds like if you are already this stressed and good, so you've already thought that one out, that you, if necessary, you could stay with the daughter close by. I'm also concerned about it, Kim, in case somebody does drive you, all right? So if somebody drives you, they may need to stay as well. But that is what I'm thinking about. So try and find out how long that test will be, just so that you have the facts. All right, try and keep it to facts, because you can deal with facts. The emotion is what makes it overwhelming. So keep dealing with the facts. Yes, I need to be 175 miles away. All right, I would prefer not to drive, but if I had to, how would I do it? All right, that's the sort of thing I would do. So, Kim, you know, keep thinking about what you're scared of, all right? Because that's important. And then you'll be able to get the answers as to what you need to put in place. I always think it's a good idea to go, I'm scared. And 9 times out of 10, you'll find you're scared for a good reason, all right? I'm pretty sure that you have a good reason to be scared of driving. Yeah. Actually, whilst I totally agree with praying, as you know, because we put up thoughts and prayers for people, you know, it's also really good to be working it out, right? I think God calls for us to also do our part, right? Not expecting him to do it all right? And so we need to do our part to help him. That is my belief. But I just want to make sure that you know how grateful I am that to hear that you're okay. Because I really wasn't too sure. And I don't know if you got my emails, but I definitely, was writing to try and find out if you were okay. And I'm just, sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm delighted to hear that you are alive and that you have the ability to tell us what's going on. That is a great gift. And you'll pray for everybody on here. I believe you, Kimmy. Yeah, as we will for you. And I'll make sure that Jody reminds me to put up a reminder on that one as well. Yeah, you see, Nyasha, I totally agree, all right? You didn't know that you had fibroids until they went to check you for something else. And, I have to say that that's a blessing to go, wow, if I hadn't had to have the other thing checked out, I'd never have found this thing out. Yeah, so we will all say a prayer, for Erin and for Kimmy and for Beth. And Jody, can you remind me to put up a prayer for Beth as well? And so as we look at keeping our lives in balance, right, this is about, now we've got all sorts of different people whose lives are slightly off center. And so the most important thing is, as we were saying, deal with the facts as best you can. And, the rest of it, to a very large extent, is out of our control. And so just control the things you can control, if you can. Yeah. The same way as when I came on to do the broadcast today, I really had no knowledge of the fact that we were going to be dealing with a death in our little immediate family here. How could I prepare for that? I couldn't. And so, and nor could anybody else that was, on the broadcast at the moment that it happened. It is one of those things we can only deal with the fact, and feel the hurt and the emotion and the sadness. But the fact is, it's happened. And now it is our job to look after ourselves as best we can, and to look after Erin as best we can, as friends, and to look after Kimmy as best we can, and Beth. Right. And Nyasha. Nyasha, I continue to be absolutely amazed at the wonderful work that you do, even when you're not on the broadcast. I can tell that you take the broadcast very seriously, and that you do look for the lessons in them. And I thank you for that. No, Britt, I don't think I said that it was easy. The Brit saying, with all due respect, Sal, it's hard to take control of a situation when you're completely losing the plot. I want to tell you something, Brit. Believe you me, I know. I want to tell you, I totally understand that. I am a couple of weeks away from finding out whether the deal on my house completely falls apart again, and I've got to start from zero again. So I understand that it's not easy to deal with it when things are falling apart. Yeah, I understand that. But I also do know, Britt, that the way in which we can take control is to deal as far as possible with the facts. The Brit says the adult world sucks. No, it doesn't. And you so wanted to be an adult when you were a kid. Isn't that, so true? So many of us wanted to grow up and be adults when we didn't realize how lucky we were to be children, and all we really had to do was play and go to school, right? It is so true, Britt. And it's nice to hear somebody appreciate that. Yeah. And I want to tell you, Britt, that getting old isn't any joke either. That's another whole can of worms that you're going, wow, why didn't I know this when I was, in my 40s or whatever? Right. And yes, you're saying, you see, it's the unknown that gets us scared and all worked up. So if you like research, please do it. It helps put your mind at ease. The other thing is, when you're researching illnesses, please do not just go for the negative. Right? Don't just, it's like so many people will go and say, well, apparently I'm going to die from this. Well, we're all dying. This is the reality. We are all dying. There is nothing to say that Kimmy's tachycardia is going to kill her faster than my old age is, or that, Erin or Beth's MS is going to be more detrimental to her mind than Alzheimer is going to be to mine. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we all need to be grateful for what we have right now and do the best we can with it. All right? Yeah. So I think what I'm so proud of is that all of you here are so supportive of each other. That is a dream come true for me. When I started DearMamaSal, that really was what I wanted to create, was an extended family of people who could care for one another and about one another. And I had no idea when I started today's broadcast that we would have so much difficult stuff coming up in it. And so, to me, it is all the more important that we look after each other. The other thing is this, I'm the first one to watch Jody offer to help everybody. And, without her giving any thought to wearing herself out with that. Right. And, the Brits, Brit, that is an incredible statement to make. The Brit is saying, well, before he arrived at DearMamaSal, he says, I'm going to be blunt. I didn't give a care about anybody but myself, and no word of a lie. But you've single-handedly changed that, and I want to thank you. It's my pleasure, Brit. Something, how can anybody blame you for what you didn't know, Brit? You know what I'm saying? If you were never taught to care for other people or to think past your own self, that a lot of people have never been taught that. A lot of people haven't been taught to think past their nose, all right? And you're saying that you were. All right, well, then a lot of people weren't reminded of it in a way that was meaningful. But I am happy that we have been able to help you a little bit with that. And, I am well aware that part of what makes Jody tick is being able to care for other people. It distracts her away from her own problems. I understand that. And the Brit is saying, because I've been hurt, I was like, whatever, yeah, Brit, isn't that so true, right? And Niesh is saying, yes, Mama Sal, I do take those videos very seriously. I must admit, though, I don't listen to all, but I mostly focus on those that resonate with what I do from time to time. Yes, that's the whole point of them. You know, Nyasha, what I always wanted to do was to get enough different subjects there so that people, if they needed it, could go back and just search. You know, you can search for videos, right, within the playlist. Wow, Britt, that's incredible to be able to admit that, and sad as well. The Brit, and some of you will relate to this. He said he was hurt so badly he wanted other people to hurt, right, the way they'd hurt him. I understand your thinking. Wow, that's incredible, Nyasha. Thank you. Nyasha saying, and those videos help me shape my life, and for that I thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm glad that's true. Yeah. Yeah, and the Brits saying, do unto others as they do unto you, had they only thought of it first. I want to tell you that we all have to remember. I always say to people, how would you like somebody to deal with you if this happened? Well, it's my pleasure to be able to help you get out of that train of thought, Britt. Although at times it's difficult because I did need to use a 2x4 to remind you that this is not just about you. All right, it's about other people. And I think sometimes we need a 2x4 to remember that the world does not just revolve around us, but it does revolve around all of us, and that is really the important part of it. I have to say that, sometimes we need to just go with the flow, and sometimes we need to put up pretty strong boundaries. And, that is the interesting thing, is that there is no right and wrong way. I found in the last week, I had to just drop a lot of my boundaries, just so I could enjoy a week with my brother and not, constantly be at war with him, because I only had 1 week. And so, I did put down a couple of boundaries, but quite honestly, for the most part, I just went, it's really not worth it. It's not worth it for a week. I just am going to, let him do his thing and be who he is and try and enjoy that as best I can, because I don't know if it's the last time I will see him. Does that make sense? And so it was a conscious decision on my part. Now, occasionally it got overwhelming and I went, no, here's the boundary. That one didn't work. But overall, I just didn't. I just let it by, because it was just like, it wasn't worth it to me. And, who knows if I will ever see him again. And, there were so many interesting things in that week where, he heard that I was having diabetic problems. And, he didn't think twice about bringing chocolate out every evening and putting it in front of me. I don't think it even crossed his mind, quite honestly, what he was doing. Do you know what I mean? I don't, because he's into himself. He's about what he wants. Now, I know it was my responsibility to say no to it. But I got news for you. When somebody sits down and puts 4 pieces of chocolate out for you, it's very difficult to say no to it. And so, it was really an interesting time. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that we all have difficult decisions to make every day. We all have heartbreaking situations that we're dealing with, be it our own or one of our friends or family or extended family. But our job is to stay in balance as best we can. Right. And Kimmy's saying she has the same problem, right? She's got people around her that keep eating, and You know what I did? I'm so glad that I know Jody, because Jody had already trained me before that week started, Kim. And she said to me, you make sure you enjoy that week. All right. You can recover after the week is finished. You know, you've got to know that you are in control enough to recover. So during that week, if you need to, just enjoy it. And really, Jody, I thought about you a number of times as I looked at an ice cream and went, hmm. Yeah, you know, Britt, there's a reason for that. The British saying, my heart breaks more. I'm certain a lot of people will relate to this. Excuse me, my heart breaks more when people I care about hurt than when I'm hurting. Now, I'm certain that quite a few people will relate to that. Yeah. And then Kimmy's saying about people leaving, you know, eating food in front of her that she's not meant to eat, right? She said, I just keep thinking about how sick I will get if I eat those things I'm not supposed to. And I did the same thing. You know, I did have some, but I didn't go mad. I want to tell you, I ate really well for a week. And I pushed my blood sugar up a little bit, Kimmy, but not horrifically. I pushed my weight up a little bit, but not horrifically. I think overall I went up 2 pounds. And when you think I was eating, you know, totally out of my normal eating pattern for a week, I thought that was pretty good. I also tried to make sure that I increased my walking and stuff. Yes, I was quite active, Jody. You're quite right. Yeah, I tried to make sure that most days I did well over 5,000 steps. Britt, he is my bigger brother. He is 3 years older than I. And my sister in the States is another 3 years older. So I am 6 years away from my sister, 3 years away from my brother. And this is the whole thing for the next couple of weeks. It would be really good if you know, even if it is raining cats and dogs here in British Columbia, it really would be a good idea for me to put on, you know, an extra walk or two into my day. Yes, Kimmy's saying 10,000 steps a day is a lot. I did, I think, at least 3 or 4 days where I did over 6,000. So I was, that's how I kept the balance in. So, Kimmy, have they suggested that you do 10,000 steps a day? I believe at my age, they recommend 8,000, I think. But that's if you're eating normally. I'm trying to eat less because I know I do less. But you don't have the time, all right? Do you know something, Kimmy? Can I give you a 2x4? Just let me know if I can give you a 2x4. I know you've got a lot on your plate at the moment. Kimmy's saying it would take her all day to get that many steps in every day. Funnily enough, Kimmy, I think they're trying to give you more time. That's why they're suggesting you do that. They know that if you do more exercise, it'll buy you more time. Does that make sense, sweetie? That's the 2x4. They actually are trying to give you more time. So if you can make the time, even to increase what you're doing a little bit, it's going to buy you more time. And so that is your decision only you can make. I don't know how many steps. Do you have a watch yet, Kimmy, one that tells you how many steps you do? And you do other kinds of exercises. Okay, that's good. So what I look at is I try to do 250 steps an hour for 12 hours of the day. Does that make sense, Kimmy? And from experience, that takes about 10 minutes or less. In other words, if I get up and don't dawdle, if I get up and really do something in my house for non-stop for 10 minutes, go downstairs, get the wash stuff done, come straight back upstairs, clean a window, right? I'm still using that activity thing. If I do 10 minutes, I can get rid of 250 steps in no time. All right. And that's what I'd like you to think about. Not I've got to go and walk 10,000 steps. This is about be more active. All right. You don't want to get up and do anything, but that's part of the problem. Right. And so what I try and do is to make sure that I have a bare minimum of so many steps a day. And every hour, my watch gives me a warning. You haven't done 250 steps this hour, so get off your butt and go do some. And most of the time, that's exactly what I do. So the question is, Kim, if you don't know how many you do, it's going to be difficult for you to improve on it, right? And today, 250, you'll be amazed. But the thing is to keep moving, all right, for 10 minutes. All right, say to yourself, it is now 10 to 5 or whatever the time is, right? It's 10 to 5. I am going to clean until 5 o'clock. And when I say clean, I'm going to keep moving and cleaning things until 5 o'clock. You will put in 250 steps. Okay? If you haven't got a watch. If you have a smartphone, Kimmy? Okay, if you've got a smartphone, that's fine. Literally, put the smartphone into your bra or something. It will, get one of the programs, they're free. It will count the steps for you. You don't have to buy a watch. All right? But make sure that you're carrying it on you. That the advantage that men have is that most men's clothing have pockets. The disadvantage we have is so few of women's clothing has pockets. Yes, Beth is saying, I always think of my body as a machine, and if I don't keep the parts moving, they will get rusty. Yes, exactly. All right, and the Brit's saying, I used to walk a minimum of 3 miles a day before your right ankle packed up. All right, so what happened to your right ankle? Because I broke my right ankle. It's stronger now than it ever was. Yes, exactly, Kimmy. So aren't we lucky that we live in a society where we can have those sort of programs on our phones and that can keep track for you? Yes, but what I want to know is it broken? Is it sprained? What's the problem with it? Because like so many things in life, Britt, yeah. Okay, so, even if you didn't, how long ago did that happen? 2004. Well, it may be worth talking to your doctor and see whether they can find out exactly what went on. You probably, did something that they can do something about. Oh, well done, Neasha. You're down to 107 pounds. Wow. I can dream of that, can I? But the good news is, they said too much time has passed. Okay, but here the things are, Britt, that I'm pretty sure that even if there's a weakness there, you can get a support for your ankle. And so it doesn't mean you can't walk. I am certain if I said to you, I'll give you $1 million if you can walk around the block, I'm certain you'd still do it. You know what I mean? It's about, you might need to do it more slowly, but you can probably still do it, right? I can't move as fast as I used to when I was in my 30s, obviously. But, I can still do it, but more slowly. All right. And I assure you, carrying this weight around is much more difficult than carrying around, 100 pounds less. But, I can still do it. It's not easy and it's not comfortable. So to me, it's all about, what would it take? What would it take to motivate you to at least try it? And to start rebuilding, those muscles as best you can. All right, we're getting pretty close to time here. And so I just want to send a really big hug out to Erin and to Kimmy and to Beth and anybody else that's hurting and say, hang in there. We are here and we will do our best to support you. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for letting us know what's going on. And thank you for trusting us with what is going on. And so I think that, we all need to look at what our individual goals are, what it is we want to do. Because you will do just that. You will do what you want to do. And you will find every excuse in the book to not do what you don't want to do. How many of you know that to be true? All right. And so I look at it and go, what is it you want to do this week? Right? Do you want to do your best to just hang in there? Do you want to actually achieve a small goal? Do you want to keep your life in balance? What is it you want to do? Neasha, that's not a problem. You lost a pound, honey. Well done. Britt, you're not the only one that doesn't do the things they want to do because they're downright lazy. You're not alone. Not all the time, but we all relate to that. We've all done that. Okay. All right. Kimmy's saying she's busy trying to talk herself out of going to the doctor. You right? So just take it easy, everyone. You will do what you want to do, and you will not do what you don't want to do. But the thing to do is, how many excuses do you give? All right? Because that is what I am really working on this year, is to stop giving excuses for everything. And just go, am I going to do it or not? All right? If I want to get below, which I do, I want to get below 200 pounds before the end of the year, I'm going to need to get outside and do some more. All right? Exactly, Kim, right? You are going to go to that appointment, even if you have to drag yourself there. That is the bottom line. Good. And so, and you can choose whether you want to continue to be bone idle or not, right? That is your choice every day. You know, how many hours do you spend sitting looking at that computer, right? And how many hours do you get up and do something for your health? That is the question. You know, they say sitting at the computer is the new smoking. That if we don't get away from it, if we don't get up and do something, all right, it's going to be as dangerous for us as smoking. And so I encourage everybody. No, actually, Kimmy, you're saying pretty soon you will have to exercise. You don't have to. If you want to improve your heart, I would recommend you do. But you don't have to. Yes, winter is coming, Kimmy. That's what I'm looking at as well. All right. That the summer has basically gone and winter is coming. What am I going to do to keep fit now? And so, yes, with, you know, whether you're going to do it inside or out is the choice, or whether you're going to join a local group that goes to the gym or do whatever. But we all need to make that decision, what we are going to do. I can assure you that we all have that same challenge. Right. Aren't we lucky how much exercise is on YouTube today? All right. We don't even have to pay the money to go buy the programs anymore. We can just turn on to a YouTube channel. So I just wanted to just send one final hug out to all that need it this week. And just know that I wish that life wasn't as painful as it is some weeks. And I know that this is a particularly difficult week for some of you. And so let us look after one another. Let us do the best, however, to also look after ourselves at the same time. And please remember that if we don't know you're hurting, we can't support you. So please, if you can, continue to be honest about that, so that we can support you as best we are able. Kimmy, thank you so much for letting us know that you are alive. I must admit, I was really very, very worried about that. Britt, I'm sorry to hear that they have stopped your disability. But in a way, maybe that will help you in some way. All right, maybe that will help you get off your duff and start doing things. Or maybe it will help you get the support you need, an advocate you need, so that you can get back on disability. I don't know which is the right one for you, but you will know. Right, the Brit says it's the kick up his rump that he really needed. Okay, there you go. So take care, everybody. Life isn't always easy, right? It comes in cycles and winter is coming. And so let us do what we can to look after ourselves so that we can look after others even better. If we don't look after ourselves, we won't have the ability to look after others as well. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you so much for giving me the week off to be with my brother. I appreciated that you all understood that I needed that, and I thank you for it. And let us continue to do what we can here. We will be back on Friday, and let me know if there's a particular subject that you'd like me to talk about. This is Dear Mama Sal saying bye-bye for now. Have a good week.